I just want to go over how I replaced the cartridge, better known as the valve, in my Delta shower faucet. I did do a earlier video where I showed how to just pop off the top and change out the temperature control, but now we had a problem with water dripping at the tub spout. Let me also just say I take no responsibility for you trying to replace the valve on your own. That's up to you. If you're uncomfortable after watching the video, reading the directions, then call yourself a plumber. The part I needed was this Delta part you see right here, a genuine Delta part. What I did was I called customer service. I had a monitor, one handle shower faucet, and lo and behold, they actually sent me the part. I didn't have to pay a dime. Nothing for shipping, nothing for the part. And just want to show you that the directions that were given that are on the card that you got with the valve are pretty good. Now, they didn't have a list of tools. The tools are listed here. I needed a screwdriver, I needed a Phillips screwdriver, I needed a pipe wrench, and then I needed some sort of hook, as you'll see as we go through the video. I have my hand here holding the hook I used. I got this at Harbor Freight Tools. I just had it in my toolbox and it really came in handy. First step, shut off the water to the house. In these three pictures, what you see is the entire valve intact on the left. And then I popped off, you just use a screwdriver and pop off this little cap for the temperature control. And then it's a Phillips head and I unscrewed it to take the temperature control piece of plastic off. Next thing, I had to get the handle off. Now the directions say you can pull it off. I wasn't having any luck with that, so I used a screwdriver and just slowly pried it off. The middle picture is the handle off. You can see how kind of corroded or gunked up it was. This handle's been in use for about 6 years. I also ended up taking the plate off. Now there's two screws that hold the plate. I didn't need to take it off, but I thought I might have to take it off to get this metal piece off. I did it anyway, and you know what? It was good because then I could clean around the shower wall. Now the next step, there is this brass ring that's screwed on, supposedly hand tight, and you can unscrew it. Well, my hands aren't strong enough. I needed a wrench, so I had a pipe wrench, thank goodness. I just gently put it on there, went ahead and used it as a lever, get the brass nut to kind of give so I could take it off. And here on the right, you see the picture with the brass nut off. Now, I'm supposed to be able to pull out the cartridge. Again, I wasn't strong enough, so I used a screwdriver to help me get the cartridge out. This is now what you have in the inside when you take the cartridge out. The plastic piece you see in the middle here in the picture on the left, that you actually need to get out as well. On the right hand side, in the middle picture, you see an O-ring and a spring. That just automatically popped off when I took the cartridge out, but I needed to get the whole piece out. And that's where this little hooky thing that I got from Harbor Freight came in handy. I tried to use a screwdriver at first, but I didn't have enough of a lever to pop it off. But with this little hooky thing, I could get behind it and pull it off. Here is the use piece. It looks different on the left and the right, again, because the O-ring and the spring popped off when I took the cartridge out. On the left, you're just looking at a picture of the hot and the cold water that's part of this piping in the wall. Now it was time to replace it. So the cartridge really is two pieces. I have to replace that piece, the last piece I took out, and this little adapter on the front you can see in the middle picture. That's to help you line it up and put it over the holes inside. Now I have to tell you, I did have to lean into it to get it to actually, with the O-rings, fit where it was supposed to. You can see my fingers holding that plastic piece, but that plastic piece ultimately comes off. But you're really going to have to lean into it to fit it on there. Next thing is the cartridge, and you want to make sure you line up the cartridge correctly with the shower. And there's going to be, it's going to say, I believe, hot on this left-hand side where this black piece is, and you want to go ahead and when you put it in, there's also a notch on the cartridge and a notch on the pipe, and you have to line those up. Now, try as I may, I thought I could maybe push and kind of pop that into place as well, but that was not the case. The next thing was the brass ring, and I'll explain what I did for that. One other thing, there is an O-ring here on the outside that you need to leave on because when you put that metal sleeve back, That's what's going to hold it there. Now what I had to do is I just lined it up as best I could. That's the picture on the left. Then I put the brass ring on, and I actually used the pipe wrench again to pretty much hand tighten it, or a little bit more than hand tight. And then I put the plate back on. I was afraid that if it wasn't setting in there, because remember, it took a bit of force to get the old cartridge out. I didn't want any kind of leaking. So I did, even though it says in the instructions for this brass ring to be hand tight, I did use the pipe wrench and tightened it a little bit more. And this picture here on the right is the whole thing back together. I had to put the metal sleeve back on. That was easy. You just literally put it on. Remember that O-ring is underneath there to hold it. Then you have to put the handle back on. Now there's grooves in the handle, in the plastic center part, and there's grooves on the cartridge, and you have to line them up. It was a little annoying, but eventually I got it. Then I could put the temperature control back on. What I didn't do at first is I tightened this too much, and so it was moving with the handle. I had to loosen it so that they would work independently. So you got to play around with it a little bit, but you will eventually get it. And finally, I went ahead and put the cap back on. That was my experience with replacing the cartridge. Good luck with your project.